Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I have an old friend back today. His name is Steve Cordry, and a friend of his, a partner at Shine, Jeanne, Reilly, Burgess. And they are here as healers to help us talk about what healing is, what their experience with it has been, and a program that they are both very good at. So on that note, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Jeanne. Steve, you look the same. I'm almost disappointed because my hair's gotten whiter and yours hasn't.
Yeah.
And, well, we have to start with your background. The first show is usually, where did you come from? What kind of, this is a show on spirituality, obviously. So I want to know about your backgrounds and how you got together. And can we start with you, ladies first?
Sure. I mean, my background seems so typical of many people finding their way to healing.
Yeah.
Raised very, very Catholic,
Okay.
seeker, studied.
I love that, very Catholic.
Very, very Catholic. Very. And was a seeker, studied philosophy in college, always wanting to study new religions, and had that strong intuition as a child.
Yeah.
But didn't know what it was.
Ah.
And it's like, kind of got it beaten out of me.
Yes.
For a decade or so.
I understand.
And then, but you know, it's persistent. It comes
Good.
back and it wants something.
It wants your attention.
So I probably started on a whole different course in about 2005 or 6.
Okay.
I started working with a healer,
Okay.
a shaman, a teacher,
Really?
and that really started to open up some of mine. Yep.
How exciting.
Yep. Yeah. The Robot Center in Lexington.
Ah.
Marianne Robot. She's awesome.
Love the name.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it got you started. And did you hang on to your Catholic faith going through this, or how does this work?
No. In fact, sometimes I forget this part. I literally was going for a walk in my neighborhood, and I had this big, I call it like my break with Jesus.
Ah.
I just said, dude,
Yeah.
like,
It's over.
Yep. Yep. I did. I said, I don't know what's true and what's not true, but I know that I need to go figure it out for myself.
Okay.
And we're done for a while. Like, we're done.
Yeah. All right.
And
I love that.
I walked home and literally thought I could be struck by lightning at any
I was
moment.
going to say, did the sky open?
I was terrified.
Yeah, I'll bet you were.
But it worked, because slowly I kind of found my way back around to meeting him in a different way.
Yes, exactly. Or who he really was. I often feel that way, that I've been misinformed.
Yes. Yep,
And-
I met him much more organically and
He's
authentically.
a buddy. He's a pal.
Yes.
He's a
Exactly.
best friend.
He's just like us.
Yes, one of us. And Steve.
Well, and interesting that we wound up with Jesus as a pal, because that's kind of where we're gonna go today. I think my background was Catholic as well.
Okay.
I had a strong spiritual connection even as a child. I was in the seminary in 9th grade. Thought I wanted to be a priest, and I did want to be a
They
priest.
didn't let you in then, did they?
They did.
What?
They did. That didn't last too long, but they let you in at that age, and
No.
of course, many
Oh.
many changes physically and physiologically, shall we say?
Yes.
The hormones hit, and
your voice
I
dropped.
lost interest in that.
So much for that.
Yeah. Yeah, but still practiced Catholicism right up to my college years,
Really?
and then I became what I would term agnostic. I started reading more secular philosophy, in particular, Ayn Rand. And, I would call those the lost years, the desert years.
The
It
desert
really
years, the dark night.
very bereft
Yeah.
spiritually until I moved to Hawaii in 1986 and met someone who had what I wanted, which was sort of peace of mind and sense of humor. And I asked him one day what that was all about, and that started me on a journey into a denomination called Unity.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I left my career in hospital administration and went to seminary and
Back to seminary.
back to seminary. Yeah, very different time in my life, and became a Unity minister. And
Did it fit? Did it fit really
it was
well?
the philosophy. I felt like I came home. I felt like I might have actually found what Jesus was trying to tell us and to create in the world in unity. There was a love that was palpable and present, and I didn't have to check my brain at the door. It was there was something you could understand. You could
Yeah.
develop your spiritual understanding as well as your open-heartedness. And that was the path that I took for a long time.
Yeah.
And of course, I was the Unity minister here at Cape Cod for
true.
12 years.
Yes.
And
That's a long time.
it was a long time. It was a long and wonderful time, a great time of spiritual growth for me. And the most recent chapter began when Jeanne and I met with some healing and opened up to what we're doing today.
So we need to know how. I want the story on the table. I mean, you were not well.
Yeah, I'll give you the
Yeah,
thumbnail of my health history.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it's a great story. I had open heart surgery in 2007.
Okay.
And in the aftermath of that, had a complication that brought me very close to death. And I don't call it a near-death experience, I call it a complete surrender experience. And really that was the beginning of opening up to a lot of spiritual resources, new spiritual dimensions that I knew at that moment, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we were not only loved, each one of us completely cherished by the universe, and that there was really nothing to fear, and that there was no hurry, there was nothing to do. It was a beautiful experience that lasted about 6 months.
It did?
Yes,
It lasted 6 months.
Yeah. And then 2 years later on the tennis court, I had a cardiac arrest. And here's a little story around that. I was playing tennis with a brand new member of our club, his first night, first time I'd met him. Turned out he was an off-duty paramedic.
Oh my gosh.
And I was gone for about 5 minutes.
Really?
And
Wow, it's a long time.
it was. And in the aftermath of that, I went to some hypnotherapy to sort of remember what happened while I was away. And talk about meeting Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see his face.
Really?
I mean, it's at least the face that is being shown to me. And I can. And
Did it look familiar?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, it was most certainly a Middle Eastern face,
okay.
and not the Jesus of, the Western Christian culture. But he was also with his own spiritual partner, Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene.
And so the two of them were there for me, and helped me to understand that they'd always been there and they'd always would be for me.
Yeah.
So then, let's fast forward another year on the tennis court. This time now I have a defibrillator installed and another cardiac arrest on the tennis court.
Boy.
And at that point, I said, okay, anything that comes my way. But in between those two cardiac arrests is where Jeanne came, and this is the interesting part of the story. Yeah.
Do you want to pick it up?
Sure.
Miss Jeanne?
So this is so funny. So I had started going to the Unity Church. I'd been there maybe 4 or 6 weeks. I was very new. I didn't really know Steve or much about him, honestly. And I'm coming home from up at my own healing school. I'm driving over the Sagamore Bridge, and one of the spirit guides that I work with a lot, who has been informing a lot of our work, sends me a message clear as day that I need to go offer healing to the minister at the church. Now
And you're up, and you turned around. You better.
I was
Wow.
Love it. It was very intense, and it was, for me, like, that was my edge. Like, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So I sat with it a few days, and I was very resistant, and Spirit gave me more information so I would have more confidence.
Okay.
And then I scheduled an appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a new congregant. I'd like to meet with you.
Okay.
But I was like, everyone in my life they knew this was a big deal for me. I felt like a crackpot. Like, he's going to think I'm a crackpot, and it could even be offensive.
So you shared with Steve this voice.
I did.
This message.
I went and met with him, and I told him straight up. I told him exactly the experience I'd had. And as I started talking to him, I said, they told me, like, there's like conflicting energies in your heart. There's something we need to do around these conflicting energies in your heart. And he's like, well, I had a cardiac arrest, right?
Like, by the way.
Like didn't know that.
Oh, my God. You did not know that.
I did not know that. But you know that feeling, as soon as he said it, you get chills, everyone go, oh.
Yeah.
So then he said, yep, I'm in. And I was about to go on a business trip. I said, okay, we'll schedule when I get back. By the time I got back, he's like, I'm out. He changed his mind.
Yeah. I was working with
Coward?
Something like that.
And I, by the way, was relieved. Like, I did my duty, I showed up, and I'm off the hook.
I appreciate what you just said. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then when that second cardiac arrest came, it was like, okay, universe,
pants.
whatever comes my way.
And so what do you know? And I didn't know about the second one
No.
either. But, I start getting this, you need to go back and offer healing, and I'm like, I am not going back there. I asked, he said no. So they tricked me a little bit.
They're clever.
They said basically go ask them about some energy clearing the church. I'm like, okay, I can have that conversation. So I get there to have that conversation, and he says, are you here to offer me healing? I'm like, no.
Oh dear. The coward turns over here. Two cowards.
But I did, I tuned in to see what was needed, and Spirit's very clear.
Yeah.
You need to do a block of 3 sessions.
Okay.
That's what I offered. You were very intent on fitting them in before the end of that year. Like, they all happened in, I think, December.
Okay.
And the 3rd session,
The drum roll is happening.
And this is, by the way, on the winter solstice.
the third session,
third session
which
is
happens
on-
to be on the winter solstice,
Oh, sweet.
is when Steve had his.
Right.
Not another one.
No. This is where I figured out you don't actually have to have your heart stop beating to have a powerful connection with Spirit, with Jesus, with
Yeah.
whomever it is that is there
Yeah.
to support you on your journey. So
Yeah.
I'm on the healing table, and I have this very distinct, clear vision of being escorted by Jesus, Yeshua, and Miriam into what appeared to me to be a rotunda, sort of tiered seating around a central light flame, and escorted to a place in that circle of masters, that circle of master healers, and my place. And I mean, I get a little choked up just even thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I had an experience in there, was just like being in that sort of the song of the spheres, the music of the spheres, and the central light, and just being.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, we left again, being escorted, and we just started laughing. I mean, I'm on her table, and I started laughing. He says, "Don't you get it? We are brothers.
Yeah.
We are colleagues.
Yeah.
Don't you get it?"
Yeah.
And it was just,
Boy, are you being used?
wow, it was so amazing.
You got a big head slap on that one.
Well, I am a hard case.
Really?
I am clearly a hard
I think the harder
case.
the better sometimes. I think, frankly, honestly, I honestly think all that resistance when you do let go, it's huge.
Yes.
It's really, I mean, I know that experience of being stubborn and resistant, and then all of a sudden, wow.
Well, and it's such a huge shift when you realize you're in partnership with Spirit. They work through us. They need us to do
They
their work
breathe
here.
through us.
Yes.
They think our thoughts. We're one.
Yep.
We're in this together. And you can put any name to it you want. I mean, it's very interesting what it's consciousness, energy, anything. I think Bernie Siegel used to tell me he'd talk to George. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we don't have to, we don't have to wear Jesus out all the time, but he's definitely.
No, and that, as you mentioned, that is part of that experience, part of that opening then, was to start to get in touch with other spiritual resources, other spiritual energies that were there to support me. You know, I grew up as a biologist and then in medical science, and I always had this question, you know, if indeed the earth plane is a reflection of the divine, and there's so much life on earth, so many different forms of physical life, are there not a corresponding array of spiritual beings, spiritual life? And I never had a real direct experience with that until this opened up for me on the table. And suddenly, I am in contact with in my daily meditations and in my journaling and in my life, in my walking
So it
life.
sounds to me you were out of time for a moment. You left, you were just not, you weren't in this dimension. You were not
Yes.
in your body.
Yes.
You were gone.
Yes.
In that healing experience.
Is that
Yes.
something else?
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now there you go. That's an invitation for folks who would like to be in the light. I know what you mean, though, about the feeling and the music and the, I don't know, did you happen to, I burst into wicked tears when I came back into my dimension. I was uncontrollably sad to be back. I really was like, oh, thanks a lot. I guess there's a little more to do here. Did you have anything
I
like
didn't feel sadness.
Yeah.
I recognize that feeling of
I mean, a heart
wanting-
burst or
yes,
something.
Yes.
It felt like,
But for me, I felt free.
it felt,
I felt free.
yeah.
I felt free to live from that within me.
Like you brought that back
With you.
Yes.
I was about 15, so I don't think I could actually, if I had been, I might have been able to do more integrating with that, but that was just very, but yeah, shifting, big time flipping something.
Right. And that began a period really of not only continuing to work with Jeanne and to explore what it is that we might be here to do together, but also a deep examination of my life. And how does my life as it is, created from the consciousness that I had brought to it, reflect now what I know about me and what I choose from this higher place to create. And it was not easy.
No. I bet it wasn't.
There were plenty of people in my life who thought I had blown a
Flipped
gasket.
I can appreciate
and
that.
I made
Yeah.
some major changes in my
Yeah.
life. I
A
left alone.
brand new horizon opened up.
Yeah.
Where even when I think of the metaphysics of unity and the intimacy with spirit, that you can go even further.
Yes.
You can go even
Yes.
further.
Yes. Into a very deep mystical connection.
An acceptance, a realization
Yes.
of your companionship.
Yeah, all that's available. There's so much available, and
Yeah.
they want to support us. They want to
Yeah.
be with us.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awake in the dream.
Yeah.
That's what you've said about yourself. Like, I woke up.
I woke up.
You literally woke up.
I woke up on that table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're partners at Shine, which is in Sandwich.
Yes.
We have your website up on the screen so folks can find out more about you, and they can contact you too to come in and enjoy the light and find their mission. Tell me a little bit more about your beliefs around a human's mission. We all think somebody's got something to do here, right? You don't just fall into the earth plane for the heck of it. You got something to do.
Everyone has something to do, and it doesn't have to be grand,
No.
right? It doesn't have to be
No,
grand.
it
It's
doesn't.
just what's for you to do.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we've been teaching in one of our workshops is that idea that, like your heart knows, like your heart is your compass. If you could get rid of all the shoulds and the things you've been taught to feel, believe, and
Yeah.
what you think is being responsible, if you could get rid of all that and just see what your impulse is, that's your mission.
Yeah.
That will take you to your mission.
Yeah.
I think we need to be really excited about life.
Yes.
And I think I don't want to get old, so I don't like to repeat something that gets tired because I don't have my creativity in it. I don't have my energy in it. I'm not happy in it. So it's a good barometer to stay young and kicky, do something you really love, and
Sure, but all the belief systems about working hard and being responsible and how you need to show up.
yeah,
And struggle and
You got to shed those so you can even figure
Yeah.
out your heart.
yeah,
And it's interesting because that's really what we are doing as well as teaching. I mean, I think that in the aftermath of that healing experience, we just began to open up to what is it that's happening here, and I found that the work that I was doing in the church was synergized by what the inspiration that Jeanne would bring, and I would be elevated in my own capacity to speak, to deliver, to inspire.
Yeah.
So open to that one seed of.
So you became a team by the looks of it. I mean, you're a team.
Absolutely.
You were put together to do this.
Yes.
That's what
It
we
happened to you. I
believe.
love to say it happened to you.
Yes.
It
Right,
happened.
because if someone had told us what was going to happen, I think we both said,
Yeah, not a chance.
no way. It happened to us. Our first thing that we taught was that following up on saying, this is something. What is ours to do with it? What is ours to do? So we went into meditation
Yeah.
and we got a very clear direction on what our first workshop would be.
Yeah.
And it was building on unity principles. It was bringing in energy healing,
Yep.
life coaching, and we put it together into a.
So then you built a little format. I like what you had mentioned to me earlier about the education of the soul. I mean, that old soul is alive and well and kicking and will be forever. I love the fact that it never started, it's not going to ever end, and it's just what it is.
Yeah, it just wants out.
It wants into expression.
Yeah,
and
it does.
That's really what
It's
this
meant
is
to
all
be
about.
given away, and everybody has a very unique way of doing that. And it doesn't have to be huge, as you say. So that's what you do.
Well, yeah, that's what we do. And
In fact, we have people who come in for healing, like, what's my mission? And it's so funny. If what you get from Spirit is, you're just here for the ride. You're here to enjoy being on Earth.
Really?
It's very hard for people to accept. For some people, that is what they're, I mean, sure, there's things to learn, but they're here to enjoy.
Yeah.
And can they allow themselves
Yeah.
to just enjoy?
Yeah. Well, that would be tricky for me.
Right.
Right. I'd find it.
Everyone wants a 5-point plan.
Well, I don't know. I have a lot of energy, so I want to use it. I have to use it.
Well, it's probably not your mission.
No, hanging out will never work for me.
Right.
yeah.
No.
But honest, for some people, that is what they're here to do.
Yeah.
And they can't
And that could
sink
be
in.
180 degrees away from something they've done before. This may be just brand new for them.
Yep.
Yeah, so we began with, and it's more than a workshop. Our initial work is really about 12 hours of contact time in which we're bringing in some of the foundational work from Unity, which is the 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore,
Yeah.
but organizing it in a way that helps people to first let go of a lot of these limitations that mental structures, labels, shoulds, and then to fill up with that spirit that's just waiting, that soul that's just waiting.
Yeah.
And now, from a place of fullness,
Yeah.
what do I choose to create?
Folks can be quite blind to their little blocks, can't they? I mean, we all lumber around with stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's very deeply buried, and you got to dig it out. You got to find ways. You've got to find a way and means to help someone get in touch with all of that, which I would think would be very powerful.
I think we've seen it be very powerful. And adding on to that you can also have the intention to release the ones you're not conscious of. Like that's bringing in the energy. So sure, like you need to satisfy the mind. We need to retrain the mind. And there's other stuff living in there that we can energetically release.
Yeah.
It's faster.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has amazed me about coming together and the work that we're doing. I've been a minister for 12 years.
Yeah.
I have counseled people and coached people and supported people and, hugged them. But in this work, it seems that the combination of what we bring to it and what Spirit is guiding us to create has made more actual movement in people's lives than anything I've ever done or seen done.
Yeah.
We have people that are taking it from the realm of Spirit. We're all pretty good at creating vision and intention and affirmation, and that's essential. That's the first part. But then how do we take that within us, and then how do we live from that? How do we make movement in our lives so that what we're expressing in our life is a closer reflection of that?
Yeah. It's interesting as you grow in that too, how your listening improves, how you hear more, how you accept the guidance more with practice. I mean, you just begin to get more with it as you keep hearing, and then it's like you get on your toes and you don't want to miss anything, so you get a little sharper at this. At least for me, that's working. That I just get a little more aware. I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah, and I know for me, a lot of that was a process of not listening and then realizing I should have.
Yeah.
I go, oh, that was that voice.
Yeah.
To just get more and more finely attuned.
Yeah. Yeah. So a client will come to you. Your website sort of explains where you can go. And do you sit together and work with someone who tells you what their story is and maybe what their needs are? We have only 2 minutes. Maybe we can finish up on, pretend I'm your client. I'm coming in. You know, I can tell you who I am, where I'm uncomfortable. Maybe I don't sleep. Maybe I'm depressed. You know, maybe my kids are driving me nuts, or, you know, I'm basically wigged out.
Yep, I would say typically in 2 minutes we have very little dialogue to start off. Yep. And we usually, like a little dialogue.
Yep.
We want to get people out of their heads. We put them on the healing table. We take them into some
Guided.
medium meditative state.
Yeah.
And we just really open up to spirit, and we do. And it's different for everybody. I mean, there's some similarities.
How exciting for you to be receivers. I mean,
it's absolutely
I mean, because
amazing.
It's my
you
favorite
don't know,
place.
yeah, you don't know what's next. I mean, the mystery.
Yep, it definitely, and it's taken a bit of courage, right?
Yeah.
You have to stand in that place, and I've stood there sometimes going, I'm waiting.
Well, Jeanne and Steve, we have to wind this program up, but I want our friends to come back because we're going to talk more about how you really do your work at Shine. So
Great.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And thank you, my friends, for joining me on Awaken the Dream. We will talk to Steve and Jeanne again soon. Thank you.